And this is Dave speaking, and it's wonderful to be with you as we continue to go wheeling into Wednesday, otherwise known as Hump Day, everybody.
Wednesday's hump day, it's Wednesday on the hump, the weeks have gone. If I had my pay on Wednesday, I'd hang out till hump day's gone.
Good morning, Kevin, Lindsey.
Good morning, Dave. How you
Little
doing?
JJKO. I found that by a total accident a couple of months ago. But you know, it's so funny. When I worked out on the river, I did 7 years. When I moved here to New Orleans, I was between freshman and sophomore year. And that summer, I worked on the river, on the barges. And I've told this story. But one of the things that I did was, and I was the kid working there, okay, but I was treated no different than anybody else. But I love that. I love that work, and I love those people, and I love the river, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, on Friday, it was my job to go across the river. We were on the east side of the river. I'd go over to headquarters on the west side in West Wego, Louisiana, and pick up the paychecks. But I was supposed to sneak off. Have you ever been there in that situation? You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. I do know what you're talking about, Dave.
Yeah. And I'm not
Yeah.
supposed to come back anytime soon. So maybe I did get special treatment in that regard. So anyhow,
Yeah.
I just thought about that.
It's funny you say in New York all day. I never. I don't think I've ever heard you mention that before. But you know, my dad was actually a captain on a tugboat
Really?
back
Okay.
in the late '70s, early '80s. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a little past my time. You know, I graduated from. So I started what summers. Let's just say 64 on
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
past 70 until I actually went into the Army in
Yeah.
October of 70. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Small world, right?
it is indeed. And you know, one of the things, and I think you can add to this, but one of the things that Charlie Douglas told me about getting along with truck drivers is, I've told this, I've told every story before. I only have half a dozen of them. Was that you got to be yourself. Don't try to be somebody you're not, because if you do, these guys will find you in a second because they've been cheated, lied to, and shortchanged every day. They can spot a phony a mile away. So my job has just
Yeah.
been to be me. But I found out that there was a real affinity between the river and the road, and that was one of the things that kind of got me in the door a little bit. And then
Yeah.
the Army was the other thing. Yes, so one foot was the river and the other foot was the Army. But enough about
Yeah.
me. How about you? How did you get into what you're doing?
Well, you know, it's funny. I actually started. I had my daddy's daddy was a mechanic in Memphis, Tennessee. He worked for a Ford dealership for years. So I kind of grew up with being a mechanic technician. Kind of, I guess you could say, in my blood. And it's kind of funny because his grandfather was a blacksmith back in the day.
Oh,
So,
well, there you go. Yeah, that lineage continues.
yeah, it
Yeah. Do you,
continues,
do you
right?
know anybody
But
going further back than that, possibly?
no,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm
That's
not even
far.
100% sure about that one, but because I know his dad was a mail carrier up in
Mm-hmm.
the Oxford, Mississippi area, so
Oh, wow. Okay. Ole
yeah,
Miss, huh?
on horseback back in the
Ah,
day.
wow. Oh, old Miss.
Well, North Mississippi was always a few years behind the rest of the world in technology back then, so it was still horseback, not a lot of roads in some of those backwoods places. So,
Yeah, yeah.
mm.
You know,
Hey,
speaking of the river, I want to get back to your story, but you just reminded me of something. I had gone to a lecture a few years back here at the public library, and this lady had written a book about. Wasn't so much a book, but it was more of an essay about the river, the showboats on the Mississippi River. Their draft was 4 inches.
oh,
So they could take it up. In other words, it would be
yeah,
like a big a great big party bus with, a bar and dancing and all of that stuff and gambling would park right on your driveway in your neighborhood. They could take these boats right up to people's homes on these little inlets and bayous
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Unbelievable. But anyway, so I did not know that. You always think of it because the draft on a barge is
It's
about 11
yeah,
feet. Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty deep, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's true.
So anyway,
That's pretty cool.
okay.
Anyway,
So
but you
great.
talking about all that, and my thought was, man, all I can think about is working on a barge, on a boat, and everything, and it's just a long, hot summer day, right?
Ooh, yes, sir. Especially when
So
you got to go inside and sweep them out.
yeah. So everybody needs air conditioning.
Yeah, yeah. I got a feeling you want to talk about HVAC.
Oh no, we could talk about this a whole show. I don't know if your listeners would appreciate that. They may
So,
want some
okay, I will tell you
tidbits
one
and
thing
tips.
then.
So.
Me and my buddy used to have to go in the barges in the summer and sweep out the empty barges, and it was grain, sometimes corn, mostly wheat, and you were just drenched in sweat. In the
Yeah,
wintertime, when it was cold, we'd put on these. They tell us to put on those overall the rain suits, with the coat and the pants and all of that, and go down there and hose these things out. It's like, oh, but it's cold, it's winter, and you're hosing stuff, but you're actually sweating now inside of
yeah,
this. Yeah.
inside
So
those old
you
rain
can't
suits. Yeah.
you can't escape sweat. So that might be a good way to get into what we're going to talk about. So rather than do that right now, let's start clean. Let's start over with what we're supposed to be doing here, Kevin, Lindsey, and take a break. We'll be right back. Well, that didn't go as planned, did it? There we are. We all have strange looks on our face. Kevin, Jimmy Mack and Andre and I can all see one another. And you will be able to, not to, not pretty soon. Exceptional value and exceptional values. That's Bennett Trucking. A core commitment of faith, family, and freedom has driven Bennett to being the leading provider of innovative, integrated transportation solutions, both at home and abroad. Bennett's values are not just compatible with providing high-paying jobs and unmatched customer service. They're inseparable. If you're looking for an employer or a partner who believes the best business model is being a model citizen, then Bennett Trucking is the place for you. Go to BennettIG.com and find the folks who share your values.
Freight is moving at Creek Carrier and Schaefer Trucking. We are growing and our customers keep growing with us. If you want to be part of a company that appreciates what you do and rewards you for it, you should check out Creek Carrier Corporation. We're looking for safe drivers that have at least 1 year's experience and take their jobs seriously. Then we reward you with great pay and some real serious benefits. Freight's moving, so check out Creed and Schaefer today. Go to creekcarrier.com and find the right job for you.
Check out the new over-the-top lineup at participating Country Pride and Iron Skillet restaurants. 3 gigantic sandwiches loaded with flavor. Try the chicken parm stack, the big country combo, or the ultimate smash melt. The ultimate smash melt. 2 delicious smash burger patties, surrounded by 2 grilled cheese sandwiches. 2 sandwiches in 1. Visit your favorite Country Pride or Iron Skillet restaurant and come hungry.
Available for dine-in only at participating Country Pride and Iron Skillet restaurants inside TA or Petro Travel Centers.
Pavement, lines of white, miles of highway up ahead, no lawman in sight. Crazy coffee, pale moonlight, keep me rolling.
Our time, 16 past 7 o'clock in the Central Time Zone. Time to tell you about time. The first fuel card ever is the multi-service fuel card, going back to 1978. How many truck stops? Well, can't count them up at the moment, but we know it's more than 8,900 truck stops. And the multi-service fuel card has been ahead of its time for over 4 decades, providing top of the line, top of the security world's fraud protection. They just wanted to take a moment of your time to tell you how you can save a lot of time and money with the multi-service fuel card. Go to the website, and it's got this is a great web address. I love it. Neverrollalone.com. Neverrollalone.com. Kevin Lindsey is with us. It's Maintenance Matters with T.A. Petro. Been a great series. You know how Maintenance Matters got started, Kevin, but I'm going to tell everybody that real quick because did you know Ari Bagdasarian?
Yes, I know of Aaron. Yes.
Yeah. When the Nashville flood occurred in May of 2010, one of the places, other than our home, was flooded really badly, and the truck stop, the Nashville truck stop, was closed. The TA was flooded. The one that became the Candy Bass TA. Yeah. And so, I don't know how much, I mean, my God, I think they had 10 feet of water or something like that because they were right on the river, right?
Oh,
we had
yeah.
We had 4.5 feet, but we were on the Little Harpeth, and they were on the big river. So anyway, as you know, I don't remember when it was, but when they had it fixed up, and man, they did a gorgeous job. They had those old photographs on them, have a little gym in there and everything. It's really nice. And Ari said, I know you do this program called Tech Talk with TMC, because Tech Talk will reach its 1,000th episode in July. He says, but I got this guy, and his name is Homer Hogg, and he's an old farm boy from East Tennessee, and he really knows his stuff, and I'd like you to meet him. And here we are this many years ago. Isn't that something?
Yeah, it is. It really is. But yeah, that was a rough time with that flood, though. Yeah, because I actually worked not far off the river there, close to downtown at the time, at the Freightliner dealership, and I know we had it up in all the way up to our parts room almost to do the shift. So.
Yeah.
And we were just off a little creek.
I know, right? I know.
Yeah.
Where we lived, the Little Harpeth, you could literally step across it on any given day. Just crazy stuff. So a lot of memories there,
Oh, yeah.
And more to come, too, because we will be together in the continent called the cyber world next we speak, and I'm really looking forward to that, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to be able to add a lot more to what we do as well. But what we really do need to talk about HVAC because you don't want to be sweating. And it's already in the 90s here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely AC season now, right?
And then some.
Well, I wanted us to talk about this, a month or so ago, but we had so many different things going on, with CVSA Road Check Week coming up and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, I think it's finally about time we talked a little bit about AC and things you can do, just look at and do, to help make sure that your AC works good, because we all know we can't stand it when it don't work, right? I know we used to have a running joke in shops I worked in the past, that it's too bad when these trucks need to be serviced that we don't automatically cut the AC compressor off. That way the drivers at least bring them in to get the AC fixed and they can service them. And who knows, that may be out there nowadays with technology the way it is. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, wow. There may be a movie in that. I don't know.
It could be, right?
Do you mind if I circle around to something you just said? You mentioned CVSA brake check.
Yeah.
The numbers aren't out yet nationwide, but Texas DPS put out their numbers a few days ago, and they released the numbers only from the Permian Basin. Okay, so they inspected 443 trucks, had 1,309 violations, which is more than what is that? More than 3 apiece. The total vehicles placed out of service out of the 443, 168, which is 38%. Last year it was 23.
Yeah.
And drivers were placed out of service too at 4%. But we spent a lot of time talking about road check here on Maintenance Matters. How was the response this year to the mid-trip safety checks in preparation? Because CVSA, for whatever you think of them, you can't really say they do anything in secret. There is one day, that break safety day in the spring, late winter, early spring. That's kind of the one day surprise, but that's pretty small scale compared to this.
Yeah, it is. Really, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what our numbers look like with that stuff this year yet, but I will dig into that probably when we get done with the show. Now that you mentioned it, because I hadn't even thought about that. I probably should have looked at that. See what I could find
I
out.
sprung that on you, but you sprung it on yourself. You should not have mentioned it.
I'm the one that brought it up, right? So it's my fault. I
Yes,
can't.
sir.
No one to blame.
You'd
but
make
me.
a heck of a witness in a court of law. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, let's just stay away from that.
All right. So anyway, the first thing to do is the basic inspections. A lot of that is, do you feel it? Do you see it? Can you smell it? I guess in some cases.
Well, and just like any pre-trip inspection, whether you're looking at stuff with brakes or in your engine compartment or anything, anytime you're doing that, for anything to do with the AC, you can always look as you're walking around the front of your truck, looking at your grill, making sure, it's not stopped up with bugs, things like that, because that condenser for that air conditioning typically is one of the first things that the airflow going down the road hits. So, it's out front, so it catches debris, it catches, bugs and all this other stuff. So, even though you got the radiator, charged air cooler, and different, heat exchangers out there, that condenser is a heat exchanger. That's what's odd about AC when we start talking about it with people is we're not making coal, we're just removing heat. So therefore we're exchanging heat from inside the cab to outside the cab. So, which is kind of what you do with it. It's and the same principles are in effect for your house AC systems, refrigerators, freezers even. So it's all the same principles that they all operate off of, just removing heat from a certain environment, right?
So inspecting those radiators, those charge air coolers, the condenser and everything, that's your kind of that's where you start. That's your macro maintenance. Because the charge air cooler, from what I understand through the years, is that it's kind of a delicate thing. So you really got to watch out about pressure and all of that stuff with that. Is there a soap or some kind of a formula that you use on those, or is it just water?
Well, yeah. I mean, for like a charged air cooler, yes, soap and water works fine. Of course, you got to pressurize it, and to pressurize it, the engine's got to be running, or it's got to be off, and you have to remove stuff to add stuff to it. But as far as the condenser out there, most of the time, any leak in your AC system, or your refrigerant side of the AC system, you're going to notice it from oily spots, because you've got oil that runs through the refrigerant as it cycles throughout the system. So anytime refrigerant leaks out, there's always some oil that comes out. So those oily spots on like air conditioning AC lines or connections or the condenser or anything like that is always, a big sign that, hey, I could have a refrigerant leak here. Not only am I going to lose efficiency on my AC, but now I've got, ozone depleting chemicals being released into the air. That's
Hmm.
it's a twofold process, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's
It
a
needs to be
double
fixed.
down on badness
It
is what it
definitely
is.
needs to
Yeah,
be fixed. Yes,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
And one of the most simple things that people overlook when just doing, whether you're doing a pre-trip or whatever, just glancing at things, especially in that engine compartment, is look at the caps of where your AC lines are. Where gauges are hooked up for to check your AC system and stuff. If those caps aren't in place, and I've seen people make these mistakes over the years. Oh, that's just a cap; it don't do anything. It actually is what seals that system, because underneath that cap are Schrader valves, just like in your tires. Um, and those Schrader valves have a spring in them. Well, trucks, there's a harmonic vibration inherently built into a six-cylinder diesel engine. So there's always this vibration. So if you've got
Hmm.
anything that's being held closed from spring tension, it can vibrate, which means it can open. Well, there's high amounts of pressure behind it in places. So every time it opens, it can just kind of, just small amounts can come out.
Hmm.
But that cap is actually what holds it in there. That's where it seals. So those are very important.
You mentioned inspecting the shroud and everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something and just cut me down, without mercy. I'm figuring the engine compartment is so crowded. The
Mm.
shroud is so important in terms of airflow and debris detention, that every square inch of this shroud is important. So therefore, make sure it's in perfect condition.
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, that's the way things are just designed so efficiently nowadays. And it's because space is becoming limited, even underneath the hood of big trucks. That was one reason years ago I really got into working on trucks, is because I was so frustrated with cars. Just as I tinkered with them, I was like, you can't get to anything in here. Give me this truck. I can get. But now, trucks have kind of become the same way. Not near as bad, but
Yeah.
there's more and more of that. But the shrouds actually, they help control that flow and make that kind of guide the flow of air coming from the front of that condenser through that CAC to through the radiator, and kind of helps pull it, especially when the fan engages. Because if that engine fan engages, it helps pull that air through there. But even just going down the road at road speeds, it does the same thing. It helps direct that flow across those critical components for the heat exchange to work properly. So,
Well, sir, we have come to the conclusion of our series here on Sirius XM. Kevin, Lindsey, can't wait to meet up with you again on the other side.
let's do it.
Yes, sir. Kevin Lindsey, everybody. That's Maintenance Matters TA Petro.